What's life like for Charlie Kirk's assassin as he sits inside of a Utah State County jail waiting for trial? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to give it to you from the perspective of someone who has been inside of a parish jail inside Louisiana. And I have also sat inside what they call isolation, because Charlie Kirk's assassin right now, as we speak, I guarantee you, he's sitting inside an isolation cell. He's by himself. He doesn't have anything. Maybe he might have regular jail clothes, but I would actually say I doubt that, because regular jail clothes would be pants, and you can probably use those pants to harm yourself. So in all likelihood, he's probably in what they call a vest or a gown, something that he can't tear to pieces and use to unalive himself. He's also in a cell that can be easily viewed and looked into by staff. It's either a bars or a steel door. I don't know anything about the county jails in Utah, but wherever he's at, the officers who are in charge of the particular area that this guy's in, they're going to be able to look inside his cell quite easily to see what he's doing at all times. They're going to make sure that this dude does not hurt himself in any form, fashion, because they want to see him brought to trial and they want to see justice served. And I don't blame them. So what does he have inside this cell? He doesn't have anything. He, in all likelihood, if he's lucky, which I'm assuming they have to let him have, is his court paperwork, right? His arraignment papers. So it's just going to be papers. He doesn't have pens. He doesn't have pencils. He's not going to get that right now, because pens and pencils could be used to harm himself. So he's not going to have access to pens and pencils. This dude's literally basically on what they call suicide watch on a 24-hour around-the-clock basis. And I would assume nowadays, with the technology that we have, he probably is in front of a cell that has cameras that are actually looking at him and viewing him at all times. They are not going to let nothing happen to him. So he's sitting in this cell. He's probably in suicide watch. Like I said, he probably has a isolation gown on. Inside this cell, all he has is his paperwork, no books. They're not going to give this dude no books. He don't have nothing. He ain't got no TV. He doesn't have access to a TV, so he can't sit there and glamorize on his own self and, you know what I mean, fantasize about his own self and sit there and play with himself while he watches himself on camera thinking that he did something good. Because a lot of these people, that's why I ain't going to say the dude's name. This dude took Charlie Kirk's life. The only name we should be saying is Charlie Kirk. He took Charlie Kirk's life, so he's sitting in this cell. He doesn't have any books. He doesn't have any access to anything. And he is probably lonely. And he's probably feeling depression. He's probably feeling isolation and all these things he should feel. He's an idiot. What he did, he's going to feel that for the rest of his life until he takes his last breath. He's going to be alone. He's sitting in that cell with just his empty thoughts. He doesn't have visitation. Nobody can check up on him unless it's the attorney, I'm assuming at this point, because, you know, in the United States, we do have access to attorneys no matter what. So he'd have access to attorneys. He's probably being psychiatrists and special, you know, doctors are probably talking to him, you know, during certain intervals, and maybe some law enforcement officials, but I would doubt that they're even talking to him. They probably have minimal contact with him, you know, watching him, checking him. He's eating. He ain't getting the regular food that the rest of the jail's getting. He's getting everything served in a loaf. They're literally taking everything and putting it in a loaf, and he eats it with his hands. He's not going to have any access to utensils. He is going to be in a room where the water is probably going, I'm assuming at this point, even his toilet water is probably going to be controlled. The officers will probably have access to shutting it on and off, so when he poops, they'll flush it for him, because they don't want this dude to unalive himself, shove his face in the toilet. But he will have access to a toilet inside his cell. It'll be a bunk. They may not give him a mattress. Inside United States prisons, they do not have to provide you with a mattress if they think you will harm yourself or if you're on a violation. They can provide him with a mattress for only a certain amount of hours in the evening, and during the day they'll take his mattress away. Either way, life is undoubtedly brutal for this dude, and nobody feels sorry for him. Nobody should feel sorry for him. He's exactly where he belongs. He's exactly doing what he needs to do, which is rot inside of a jail cell. And that's where he's going to be for the rest of his life until they try him for this crime and sentence him to the death sentence. And then they take his life until he breathes his last breath. And then that'll be it. And then justice will be served. Now, do I think as an ex-convict, that this is harsh? Nah, not at all. I've seen dudes who did far less crimes than this fool committed, and they had to live like this, and nobody felt sorry for them. So, and no, the general population, he's not going to hit general population. If he hits general population in Utah, one of them gang members in Utah are going to unalive this dude. They're going to get stripes off it. He's going to have a target on his back. There's no way that the police or the correctional facility allows this dude to hit general population, because they're going to take his life. So, sharing your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that the justice system is fair by putting this dude in isolation? Do you think that the justice system and the county sheriff's department is right? Because this dude's, I'm telling you, he's completely alone, and he don't have access to nothing. No books, no newspaper, no reading material, nothing. Whatever that little rinky-dink piece of paper says about his arraignment, that's probably all he got in his cell. You know what I mean? Or maybe a card with his attorney's name on it, if he even has that. No TV, no access to nothing. Actually, I would go so far as to say some of the guards might even be taunting him. Who knows? You know what I mean? Because guards do that stuff, and nobody would feel bad for him. Not the inmates and not the other correctional facility. So, you know, I know some of you fools actually idolize this dude. Some of y'all probably gonna get tattoos of him because y'all sick idiots. But all of us who have common sense and who have, you know what I mean, compassionate hearts, and we really miss Charlie Kirk, and we miss, you know, what he brought to this world as being, you know, he made this world a better place, you know, with public discourse and speaking and talking and trying to talk our differences out. So a lot of us are going to miss him, especially his family. Anyway, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. And as far as I'm concerned, to the person who did it to him, you could sit there and fester in your own hate inside that cell, because eventually, you know, hopefully sooner than later, the justice system does what it has to do with you, and you take your last breath underneath capital punishment. Man, give me a like and subscribe to the Pen and the Shank. Let's get it.